to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 23rd day of October. Very busy day in the NFL. I'm going to talk a little college football later in the program. DeAndre Hopkins, though, that was the biggest story of the day, getting traded to the Chiefs. Looks like a steal by the Chiefs, but Tennessee needed to unleash a player from a team that's not going anywhere. Talk about that. Jason Patterson, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs for Pig Trail Nation as a contributor. He comes back on the program. Going to ask him his thoughts and breakdowns of this particular trade and maybe get a little bit of college football talk in there as well. So stand by. Let's take our first and only break. We'll be back here in a few short minutes and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty then. Great promos there. Okay, so biggest story of the day in the NFL and here in the Nashville, Tennessee area, folks. DeAndre Hopkins traded today from the Titans to the Kansas City Chiefs here. The 32-year-old player was in his contract year, judging by the way the quarterback play is here in Tennessee. Probably wouldn't re-sign anyways. They get a fifth-round pick that can turn into – the Titans get a fifth-round pick that can turn into a fourth-round pick if Hopkins plays 60% of the snaps. And, of course, the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl. For those of you who've been following me on this program for a while, I said the Tennessee Titans should contact the Chiefs about trading Hopkins to them. I was the first and one of the only people really to bring this up on a consistent basis. I obviously was saying that Tennessee should get the third-round pick back that they gave the Chiefs for L'Jarius Sneed. I guess the Chiefs thought that was a little too rich, but essentially that is what happened. Now, other stuff aspects here that I've had done some screenshots here. I want to say this is from from Adam Scheffner or Tom Florescio of the NFL Network here. It says Hopkins making about $13.7 million this year. Majority of that was already paid, with Tennessee paying a $2.5 million signing bonus as a part of this trade. The Chiefs will have Hopkins for the last 11 games, including playoffs, for about $3.2 million. So a lot of it's already been paid. It's money down the drain. It is what it is. So, you know, Peter Schrager from Fox Sports put this out, that he had been wanting to get away from Tennessee. He had been requesting this. So let me make sure. This is from Fox Sports. Peter Schrager. D-Hop is happy as Blake as hell to go. He has been in this has been in the works for weeks. Peter Schrager from Fox Sports. So apparently, when things go south on a team like this, these guys, typically these diva-like receivers, they're the first ones that kind of mail it in. You saw it with guys like Randy Moss here with the Raiders. You've seen it with Stephon Diggs. When things went south, they started losing up there in Buffalo. You'll see it again out of Diggs. You'll see it out of guys like Terrell Owens. It's a common thing. You know, there's a reason why that Arizona did not re-sign Hopkins here. Now, and there's a reason why that Houston traded him to Arizona. So I think he could still play. I think he could still play. I think he does need to be motivated. He's this year he's only had 15 catches, 173 yards, and a touchdown. I do wish that Tennessee could have got more out of this. I know that he's 32, be 33 next June. I would have waited. I mean, it's November 5th, Tuesday, less than 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline. I mentioned the fact that, well, if you don't know, now you know. I think I mentioned this yesterday. Brandon Ayuk has got a torn ACL. He's out for the season. Chris Godwin, that's with the 49ers. Chris Godwin, done for the season. Got hurt on Monday Night Football with Tampa Bay Bucks. Those teams are very much still in this thing. Washington needs another receiver to offset Terry McLaurin. Those are three other teams that Tennessee could have been talking to, you know. And also Tennessee was also in they also made another trade and did get a 4th round pick. And let me make sure and get this guy's name out. This is one of their linebackers here. The Tennessee people don't like this, but I see here's the problem. I've heard some, you know, texts from friends and people around my job sites. You got to take the emotion out of it. You know, these guys, this is a business. You got to take the emotion from the players out of it. You got to look at this as a hard cap league. You've got you realize that these guys are under contract. That when their contract's up, and there's a very good chance they do not re-sign with you, you might as well go ahead and trade them and get some kind of draft compensation. This team has roster issues. The main one being a quarterback. So you want to establish enough draft capital as you can to potentially move up and around the draft for players, impact players in the future here. You're 1-5. You have a quarterback that cannot get a completion here that they drafted. He was a miss. I think as of right now, Will Levis was a total miss at the quarterback position. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Here's Adam Scheffner earlier today putting out, this is ESPN. This is how you make the system work. In August, the Titans general manager, Ran Carthon, traded a 2026 5th-round pick and a 2026 6th-round pick linebacker for linebacker Ernest Jones IV. Now, Carthon has traded Jones to Seattle for 2025, which is next year, 4th-round pick. Okay, and they also get linebacker Jerome Baker. So basically, Carthon traded a 2026 fifth-round pick for a 2025 fourth-round pick and a 2026 sixth-round pick and Baker. So he's doing pretty good. So here's what the Titans have as of next year, and this is what they need to continue to compile on, okay? As of right now, the Titans, they have a first-round pick. They got a second-round pick. The third-round pick, they gave that to Kansas City for L'Jarius Sneed. I endorsed that. They have a fourth-round pick I just mentioned from Seattle. They have their fourth-round pick, so they got two. And they have that extra fifth-round pick from Kansas City that could become a 4 if the Hopkins plays 60% of the snaps and they make the Super Bowl. I do not like that at all. I wish they could have got more compensation. They have the 6th, and they must have traded their 7th, but they have the 7th-round pick of Green Bay because they traded away what's his name? Malik Willis to the Packers in the preseason. So you see the picks that they have. Now, there's another rumor out there. And this is another one. I told you so. As of right now, it's just a rumor, folks. It's just a rumor. Okay, this is a pretty dependable site here, ML Football. Titans Pro Bowl pass rusher Harold Landry is available. As I said, that would be the next guy I would possibly look at for some trade capital. In trade, is highly sought after by multiple contenders. Landry has been strongly linked to the Lions, who I mentioned the other day, since they've got Aiden Hutchinson out. The Titans play the Lions this weekend. Maybe they can institute this trade after the game so he doesn't beat them on the week they trade him to him. But the Lions were mentioned in this. The Falcons need a pass rusher like nobody's business. They're in a dogfight for the NFC South. The 49ers, somebody to go opposite of Nick Bosa, and the Commanders by front office personnel. He's got 12.5 sacks in the past 17 games. He's got 4 this year. He is being he's 28 years old. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Titans are paying him about $17.5 million base salary. So pretty high guy there. But you could get a lot of draft. You could possibly, if you got that many teams, a third, a second, maybe even a late first-round pick, depending on the type of bidding war that Ran Carthon would like to perhaps make. I think that would be a good deal. You can get Pickle says he would be a good fit with Buffalo. Yes, that's what I've been talking about a lot. They need to add another defensive piece. They need help at the linebacker. They need help at edge rusher as well. Buffalo looks really good. I read a stat today that Josh Allen has not been sacked this year. That's how good their line is holding up. So they have a good running game. They need that pass rush. Everybody can use an extra pass rusher. So this is another good move potentially that the Titans can do. Carthon, if you're the Titans, you want to have as many players on rookie contracts as possible, and you want to have as many draft picks as possible. Much more listen, people poo-poo 4th and 5th round picks. George Kittle was drafted in the 5th round. Dak Prescott was drafted in the 4th round. Kirk Cousins was drafted in the 4th round. Max Crosby was drafted in like the 5th round from the Oakland Raiders, or for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's a big-time pass rusher as well. So you got to keep all that in mind here. They feel like they have issues at the quarterback position. Maybe they deal a Treylon Burks, somebody like that as well. Maybe a Tyler Boyd to fill the void for Chris Godwin with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Again, you want to continue to compile draft picks. I'm sure this is something, not just the Titans, just because I'm out of Nashville. The Patriots, the Cleveland's already started doing. And sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, okay? especially if you've got if you're trying to make that move to get that quarterback, or this is why the Chiefs didn't want to give up that third-round pick. You have a expensive rookie or expensive quarterback that you're trying to fill out draft pick players around him, like the Rams have done with Matt Stafford, getting all those defensive players on rookie contracts because Stafford's contract's very big and whatnot. And they had some dead money left over from Aaron Donald retirement, for example. So this is how you do this sort of thing. This is from a person who talks like the league. I don't have it down pat perfect, but I feel like I do have an edge on most of this competition that do what I do, other than somebody that's an actual insider. I'm just putting together information and putting it out there, and I've been spot on pretty sure. Didn't I say that, Pickles? Didn't I say that Harold Lander would be another good possible trade option there? So you got to keep all that stuff in mind here. All right. Now, listen to what, as far as the Kansas City side of things, listen, Pat McAfee, I got a clip from his show, makes a very good point about the Kansas City angle to all this, and other receivers who look washed up with other teams and things have really snapped back once they get to a really good quarterback. Listen up. He makes a good point.
DeAndre Hopkins has officially been traded from the Tennessee Titans to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now it's for a 5th rounder with some conditions that it could become a 4th. Did everybody know you get DeAndre Hopkins for a fucking 5th rounder? Reach out to Hembo and you say, Hembo, is DeAndre Hopkins going to work out for Patrick Mahomes? And he goes, actually, there's some stats here. Everything that Patrick Mahomes needs and hasn't had this year, DeAndre Hopkins helps out with. Zone coverage, he's quickly open. Understands hot routes, understands defenses. Yards 0 to 11 for passes. In the past, Patrick Mahomes has been very good. Understands what defense is, gets balls out quickly there. DeAndre Hopkins eats in these, let alone what he's able to do down the field. And there's a lot of people saying he's washed. Was Kareem Hunt washed whenever he went over there? Remember, Randy was washed before Randy Moss went up to New England. Gronkowski was retired. Back was bad. Old. Sometimes a little motivation, a little hope, a little optimism can spur a little bit more awesome from the greats. I believe DeAndre Hopkins is going to fit in great over there.
He makes some very good points there. You know, Randy Moss looked totally washed with the Raiders. And, man, they moved him to the Patriots, and this guy took off like a shot. Now, there's been other situations where he did miss a few games to start this season. Hopkins did. Now, I know the Patriots have also got guys like Chad Johnson that didn't work out. It's not worked out in other cases. And if you're a Titans fan, you really hope it don't, but don't mention that to Jason when he comes up here. Oh, I'm kidding. So they need that insurance. They need that insurance of players. You've got 2 players that are out for the Chiefs here. And again, like I said yesterday, they're going for history. They're going for absolute history there. Brett Veach wants his name in the history book. So does Mahomes. And, of course, Andy Reid, that whole staff, the fan base around Kansas City. They want a shot at that 3rd Super Bowl here. So, they didn't give up much. Tennessee took most of the salary. It feels like a win-win for the Chiefs, if you ask me. Possibility of a ring in job 1. And plus, he gets an opportunity. You know, he's played with, and for Hopkins' defense, he's played with some god-awful quarterbacks. I mean, in Arizona, man, they went through 3 or 4 quarterbacks in 1 year. I mean, you got a lot of guys you've never heard of. Kind of like with Larry Fitzgerald as well. Arizona's had some bad ones come through. Yeah, you had Carson Wentz, and for a little while, then you had Kurt Warner and all that. Kurt Warner and Carson Wentz, but in between time, you're hit and miss on guys. Between Kyler Murray being hurt all the time, this guy's play and those guys getting hurt in Houston and the bad quarterback play that's been here in Tennessee. Hopkins, it would be a breath of fresh air for him to actually play with a good quarterback to can get him the football on time. So he, like my dad would say, he's happy as a pig in crap right now. from the outhouse to the penthouse on a beautiful Wednesday morning for DeAndre Hopkins. Oh man. Okay. Touch on some college football before my man Jason comes in here. Texas and Georgia. I had a feeling sometimes in life you just got to listen for the most part to your first instinct. My first instinct, my preseason instinct, I'm switching gears to college, folks. I'll come back and touch on this in a minute. What was to take Georgia in that game. You all know that. That was my early preseason prediction that Georgia would beat Texas in Texas because Texas played that Oklahoma game. And, of course, listen, I own it. I lost that pick. Carlos got that pick right. My thing is Texas is a team that has been told how great they are. They had a lot of celebrities there at the stadium, including Matthew McConaughey. It was a really, really big thing. Everybody picked Texas, including Nick Saban. Oh, it was on a coin flip, but still, with game day, I picked Texas, and Carlos, he did pick Georgia. But my thing is, I always wonder, and I mentioned this the other day, can Quinn Ewers play from down? Can he play when his jersey is dirty? How tough is he? How tough can he come back from? I know that he went on the road. They went on the road, and they beat. They went on the road, and they beat Alabama last year. They got off to a very good start, though. And everything was everything. Xavier Worthy, who's also a Kansas City Chief now, played on that team last year. But look at this hit I'm about to show you. I traditionally, folks, I watch these games, and I say this ad nauseum. Pickles knows this. Carlos knows this. Other than Red Zone, I watch these games 35 to 45 minutes behind. I watch these games behind because I want to fast forward through everything. But I started to send Carlos a text when they made this hit I'm about to show you on this very well-timed blitz by Georgia. I thought Quinn Ewers is not going to be the same rest of this game. I got a gut feeling, and the game was still 0-0 at the time. Watch this, courtesy of TikTok as well.
The night, and he smacked. Ewers is pounded. The ball comes out, still rolling around, still up for grabs. And it looks like Georgia has recovered. The night, and he smacked. Ewers is pounded. The ball comes out, still rolling around, still up for grabs.
That's 1 minute and 45 seconds left in the first quarter. And when you get hit like that, a lot of smart players, tough players, they can get over that. They can shake that off. I tell you what, the Titans in the NFL one time, this was years ago. We're talking 15, 20 years ago. They had a perfectly timed safety blitz on Peyton Manning in his prime. And they knocked that ball out of his hand. And Peyton, he's kicked the Titans' butt for years and years and years. But he never recovered in that particular game. Now, a guy like Steve McNair, Ben Roethlisberger, Josh Allen, John Elway, they can shake that off like nobody. I've seen Ben Roethlisberger get hit like that in a Ravens game, former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, and he'd be down for a few minutes, and they'd bring it back in there. Scott Hansen with NFL Network, with Red Zone said, we got a situation in Baltimore, blah, blah, blah. And then 5 minutes later, he's back there smiling and warming up on the sideline, and he comes back there and beat him. So, but there's just not a lot of players that can come back from that type of hit. You have to be a tough son of a gun, or you just got to have the reaction time to feel that safety coming in. This guy's had 5-star players everywhere. He was a 5-star player. Just an embarrassment with riches there as far as receiver, running back, skill player, coaching, you name it. Everything is gave to him. And he was never right after that. And, of course, Georgia, just a great game plan. You've got a lot of guys from Georgia that are now in the NFL, and who was it? Jalen Carter, Jaden Davis, all those defensive players that play for the Eagles. It seems like, right? And of course, your Roquan Smiths. All those guys are now in the NFL. Okay, and you had a lot of 4- and 5-star guys, not a lot of experience playing in these particular games, and they haven't quite lived up to their billing. And this is the first time that they were underdogs in 49 games. And everybody's talking about how great Texas was, and it all came together for them last Saturday night. What a win there for Georgia to get right back in the thick of things. I think they're back up to number 2 now in the AP poll. And if Quinn Ewers in Texas, who come here to Nashville this Saturday, and I see Jason backstage here, they better bring it again this Saturday, because Georgia or Vanderbilt is not Vanderbilt beat Kentucky. They beat Alabama this year. Now, they've also lost to Georgia State, but they're not an easy put the W in. So they've got to bounce right back this week and come in on the road and play Vanderbilt after that big emotional game to Georgia. So, but anyways, quick take on Tennessee, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in here in a minute. My first thought is, when Josh Heupel first took over this team, I never in a million years, when he's doing that Baylor-style offense and those fast-paced plays, I thought Tennessee's going to look like Texas Tech, and they're going to lose 4 or 5 games, and they're going to end up firing this guy in about 2 or 3 years, if not that, because they cannot play a lick of defense. They have shocked me. 20 incompletions by Jalen Monroe, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a win there. So I'll dive in a little bit more of that here in a little bit, but I want to bring on Jason Patterson from Pig Trail Nation that covers the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the biggest story of the day, probably the biggest story of the week. DeAndre Hopkins dealt from Titans to the Kansas City Chiefs, as I thought that they probably should. Let me bring him on. We'll talk about. Hey, Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Great, Robert, man. How you doing this evening?
Oh, man, I'm all amped up, brother. I'm all amped up.
Same here.
Don't let me put words on your mouth. What's your thoughts? DeAndre Hopkins is now a Kansas City Chiefs for 5th round pick and 4th to be. It looks like, have you ever seen that movie Scarface?
Yeah, sure have.
Okay, Scarface with
a deal you just cannot refuse.
Yeah. Or well, no, that's Godfather.
Godfather, good Lord. I need to go back and watch my mafia movies.
1983 classic.
Yeah.
There's a scene there when Al Pacino comes back, the guy that who was it? Frank sent him down there with.
Yep.
He was an informant for the police. Sosa, the big drug dealer in Bolivia, they end up killing this guy. And he makes a $30 million deal. Yeah. And Frank looks at after Al Pacino, Tony Montana explains that to Frank. Frank looks at him and said, "You stole your deal with Sosa." So that's my thing to you. You stole your deal with Hopkins.
That is so true. That is so true. Honestly, when you look at it from a Kansas City perspective, you basically got DeAndre Hopkins for a sack of money, half a rack of ribs, and a Taylor Swift ticket to her concert. That's about it.
Nosebleed section.
They didn't even get the lower bowl.
You didn't get lower bowl, did you, brother?
They did not get lower bowl. I think that with Juju Smith-Schuster's injury last week, I feel like that kind of sealed the deal for Brett Veach. He understood that you cannot have a rookie wide receiver and Xavier Worthy be one of your top guys, because let's face it, Bell did great. Travis Kelce kind of was more of a decoy than an actual producer that last week. Yeah. And you cannot, listen, yes, it was a great matchup. They kind of, you thought that San Francisco might make a run, kind of like what happened with the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Listen, San Francisco is nowhere near healthy. Neither is Kansas City.
Right.
And Kansas City, again, week after week, they keep just throwing some stuff against a wall and it keeps sticking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long that's going to happen, but now you've got a guy that's a possession receiver. And I understand that a lot of folks are really excited about having DeAndre Hopkins in this offense.
Yes.
Based on his speed. I think it's great because based on his hands.
Yes.
He is that possession
really good
receiver.
hands.
Yeah. He's that guy. Okay, listen, Pat Mahomes has got a guy that can blow the top off with Xavier Worthy. And I saw something last week that I never would have thought I would saw. And I think it surprised Xavier Worthy when Pat Mahomes overthrew him.
Wow.
And you look at
Mahomes
what happened.
Got a cannon. If he wants to show it off, he can show it off.
Oh, no, he loaded up. He loaded up. He put that ball up in the air 60, 65 yards and overshot Worthy by a solid 5 yards. And the first thing you see is Xavier turn around and go, whoa, I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah. Yeah. He was excited.
And
seeing
so
that open anyways.
It is. You lose Hollywood. You lose Rasheed. You lose Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, that hamstring. No. What's the situation with him?
I don't know 100% yet. I think that they're still trying to evaluate to see if he's going to go IR or not.
Okay. So it's that bad. It's not a week-to-week thing.
I mean, Andy Reid's going to have to come out and say, hey, yes, it is, or yes, or it's not. Because, NFL rules prohibit him from sitting there and stringing guys along week after week after week. I mean, like Isaiah Pacheco, for instance. I mean, they could have, but that's not going to be advantageous, and they would have gotten fined for it. So, I mean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, those sorts of things, they have to be honest and truthful as much as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever it comes down to it, I think that Smith-Schuster is not the guy that they thought that he might. He's serviceable. And McCole Hardman, you cannot sit there and expect McCole to sit and step up into Rasheed's spot or Hollywood's spot and say, okay, I need you to go out there and produce. That's not what he's there for. That's why you bring in with DeAndre Hopkins. And you have a guy that can get you 10, 15 yards, make a guy miss and get you 30. Or you need a first down. He's your guy across the middle that can go and get that.
What do you think's missing with Hartman? It seemed like they wanted him to be the Tyreek Hill of this team, and I can't put my finger on it. Is he just dropped too many balls across the middle or something? What's the deal with Hartman?
So with McCole, he's not Cheetah. That's what Xavier Worthy's here for. That's the reason why they drafted him.
That's Cheetah 2.0, hopefully.
Yep. And McCole is he's that possession receiver. He's also that kick returner. It's one of the main reasons why they brought him back this year.
Right.
Is so that he could return kicks because he can make a couple of guys miss. And also he's the solid guy in the flat that you can always depend on.
Yeah.
And so I think that's Andy knows his personnel better, I think, than any coach knows their personnel in the league.
Oh, yeah. I agree, man. Absolutely.
And that's why I think that you see this move for DeAndre, because he knows what he has and he knew what they needed.
Yeah.
And he told Brett Veach, hey, this is what I got to do. This is what I need. And he went and got it.
Yeah. Do you see any other moves that they make between now and Tuesday, November 5th, which is the trade deadline? Is there any more holes that you could see potentially being patched, or maybe they don't have any holes?
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, it looks like the backfield's pretty cemented.
Okay.
Kareem Hunt looked great.
Man, love Kareem Hunt out there. It's a great move.
Did you hear the story, what happened with Kareem Hunt during the off week?
No, what happened?
This is interesting.
Let's hear it.
And great. So what happened was he hadn't carried the ball like that in almost 2 years, 2 consecutive games of between 20 and 30 carries.
Yeah.
And his body was beat up from those first 2 weeks because he hasn't been in training camp. He didn't have those reps that you need to get your body ready for the season.
Yeah.
And he basically lived in a cold ice bath for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Trying to get his body right.
Boy, he looked great. Won me a fantasy game on DraftKings Sunday, so I appreciate him for that.
And they have a formidable backup in Samaje Perine, guy that came over from Cincinnati that was backing up
Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
And so they have a pretty good backfield. I don't see them making a move there. If they do make a move, I would say it would probably be cornerback. And,
wow. Okay.
And the reason why is they've had a little bit, they've had, some guys get banged up. You had one guy that you've lost now for the rest of the season. And I mean, who's not in the market for an extra cornerback that's got some experience?
Interesting. Could you see them going after Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints?
I don't know. It has to be the right price. And I did not expect to see New Orleans possibly start going fire wholesale like what Tennessee has this year. Didn't see that coming.
Well, they go the opposite. They end up extending. Did you say they extended Alvin Kamara 2 years?
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm okay with the wholesale. As far as the Tennessee thing, man, listen, they're not satisfied with the quarterback situation. You're 1-5. They're telling me that they want to have draft ammo for leverage, for a better player, to add more talent next year, to move up in the draft, or maybe even particularly go after an actual quarterback next year. So when you know you don't have the quarterback, you need to get as many draft picks as you can, if you ask me, because you want to have that leverage. It's huge, man. There's great players in the 4th and 5th round.
Yeah.
George Kittle, who is it? Cousins, Dak Prescott. Those are 4th and 5th round guys, man.
Yeah. Well, and I also firmly believe that you can also use some of that draft capital to move up if you need to as well. I mean, you don't have to sell the farm, because if you've got 4 or 5 that are, they're in the background for you, and they're kind of sitting there between 4, 5s, and 6s. You can and if you have a stockpile, you can afford to get rid of a couple of those, so that way you can move up from a 3 to a 2, for instance. Get a guy that's been an all-league guy for 2 years versus a guy that had started 4 years. I mean, that basically is what the difference is between a 2nd and a 3rd and a 4th.
Yeah, and I do think Tennessee got a really good deal with trading their 3rd round pick for Snead. Now I feel like the Titans kind of paid the Chiefs back. I feel like they probably could have gotten maybe a little more from Hopkins, but he's 32 years old, so it is what it is. I mean, what are you going to do? And he's going to be a free agent, so it's a win-win for them. And Tennessee, they might not have got anything out of him. He could have walked away with this quarterback situation, and they just didn't have a draft pick for it. So go figure.
Well, and I think that Tennessee could have. I mean, honestly, they may have been able to unload Derrick Henry and possibly get some draft capital.
Did that last year,
yeah. And now they're not going to be sitting out there holding the bag without a coat on, because I mean that's kind of where they're sitting at right now.
Maybe this is why they've done this, but plus it was reported today. This ML football site that I follow, they've been pretty good in the past.
Yeah.
And by the way, Hopkins says he's happy as all get out.
I imagine he is.
And this still been in the works for weeks now, according to Peter Schrager with Fox Sports. But I
love Schrags. He's good.
Yeah, he's good, ain't he? He's good. But this other report here is a rumor that Harold Landry, Tennessee may have him on the block. It's a pass rusher. He got 12.5 sacks for the last 17 games. I said maybe Tennessee should possibly move off him. The Lions, the Falcons, and the Lions, they don't have Aiden Hutchinson. That would be a good fit for them. Just saying,
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to clear cap space for a quarterback for the next 10 years. That's my personal thought. Yeah. Titans.
Yeah. He makes $17.5 million a year. So you already understand this part. I talk to my friends here. They're caught up in the emotions of the players. They're not understanding this is a hard cap league. You've got to make room, At some point, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yep. And
hopefully Paul is named Patrick Mahomes. But
well, if you think about it too, I mean, you saw a huge increase in the draft cap last year. You're going to see it again this year. I think you're going to see it increase by, from what I read, anywhere between 10 and 20% off of what there is currently. So if that's the case, I mean, you're in. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I need to look at kind of what the situation is money wise for them.
Yeah.
But for Tennessee, I seriously think that they're trying to unload. They're going to probably do with Will Levis like what Dallas has done with Trey Lance, where they're going to put him in the back. They're going to see if he can develop. And then if he is able to develop, then get rid of him. I don't see that Will Levis is going to be a long-term fit for Tennessee.
Yeah. And possibly now there also another scenario where Brand Carthon, the general manager here, looks ahead to 25 and don't think that there's a quarterback ready to make that move on. You probably need a bridge. Do you make a move with Atlanta, bring in Cousins for a year, and let their guy, I forgot his name, really good player out of Washington that they've got sitting on the bench there, and do that, and then look forward to 26 when you got guys like, it may be a better class, for example. It may be Nico, maybe Arch Manning, probably not Arch. Maybe he comes out 27, but maybe, you know what I'm saying, buy yourself some time that way, kind of the way Atlanta's doing this year.
Yeah, that was really weird because whenever you go and you commit $100 million over 4 years, which, by the way, Kirk Cousins has had a guaranteed contract all 8 years that he's been in the league.
Right. More money than Brady's made. Go figure.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that crazy to believe? And then on draft night, you go and you get Michael Penix Jr. And you're
Michael
sitting there,
Penix, thank you. Yeah.
What are you guys thinking here? Because, I mean, if I was Kirk Cousins, I'd be kind of pissed.
Yeah, he was, I'm sure. But he'll never say it publicly.
No, he won't. But it honestly was an Alex.
Go lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially with this offense, having those two weapons with Drake London. Holy cow, him and also
Bijan
Robinson in the backfield.
Pitts has been coming around too, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts has been pretty good, but the guy that came over from
Chicago,
I think Chicago.
Mooney.
Yeah. He's been a delightful surprise too for them.
Yeah.
But
so
I see.
Anyways, what is your thoughts? Is there a team or teams that are in the way of Kansas City getting back to the Super Bowl? You cover the Chiefs, man. As far as the AFC is concerned, how do you see it now and here in October?
Well, let's put it this way: to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah,
and nobody's beat the man yet.
Yeah,
I really feel sorry for the Las Vegas Raiders this weekend. If you think about
they do play the Raiders. Oh yeah.
If you think about training camp,
tell the folks a little backstory there that you told me the other day about the Raiders.
One of the Raiders decided to pop his mouth off during training camp because I guess that they had nothing better to do.
Yeah,
and starts making fun of not only a guy but the guy, Patrick Mahomes, with a little sock puppet and talking like a frog and acting like he's Pat Mahomes and this, that, and the other. And the only response that Pat gave to that was, "We'll see him in the regular season."
Woo! And here it is. Hey, you think they'll activate Hopkins this week?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
I don't, just for the simple fact of looking at the playbook.
Okay.
If he was familiar with it, like McCole Hardman, whenever he came back over when the Jets released him last year, completely different story. He understood what Matt Nagy wanted to do.
Are you surprised Amari Cooper scored last week with the Bills, though?
Yes, a little bit so. I mean, that's kind of Bills run a pretty complex offense as far as that goes with Josh Allen. But that's also the Bills. This isn't the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think, have a more complex offense than
it does. Seem
Buffalo
more
does.
Complex, don't it? Yeah.
Honestly, it depends. What is he able to do to come in? Yeah. And can DeAndre come in and say, "Okay, I know what this is, and this is." And if he's able to start kind of, working his way through it, and if he can show that on the field this week, and we got Thursday and Friday practices and see what happens. There's a possibility. I just don't see that. If he is, it may be more of a decoy than anything else.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'll be watching that Raiders game. That's that much more interesting that particular game. Do you see a team like Cincinnati? They've kind of got their footing. They've won 2 in a row. Do you see them kind of making any trades and making a run, trying to get back into things?
Well, you also have to look at it and see what they've got. And
Yeah.
if they're starting to make a run right now, they're starting to make some progress on the wins and loss column.
Yeah.
You may not need to. You may not. I mean, if you've got some guys that are, starting to get more healthy, you've got Jamar Chase that's starting to get, he's starting to really find his groove, his role, and being able to be that number one guy for Joe Burrow. If he's able to get separation, if he's got a guy that's, behind him that can make some moves and be able to get open and free him up some more. I mean, they may not, but I really feel like that whenever the trade deadline hits, I think it's going to be a wild, wild west.
Yeah. There ain't no telling, man. It's really hard to tell nowadays.
Yeah.
Let's flip it to the college game, man. I know you had to see that Georgia-Texas game.
Sure did.
What's your thoughts on that? Did you pick before the game? Did you pick Texas or Georgia?
If I am not mistaken, I think I picked Texas.
Me too.
Whenever you have the number one team playing at home, there's not too many people that are going to pick against them.
Right. Yeah.
I noticed that also Vanderbilt has installed safety netting on the away side on where the stands are to limit the trash that comes on the field. If something does happen, that they're also going to keep that in place for the Tennessee
What
game.
if that game would have turned around on that call? That would have really been controversial. With that, just really blows my mind, man.
Yeah, I really think that there's a couple of calls that really a lot of folks had scratched their heads and a couple of yelled at the league office about. But at the end of the day, it was the referee's call on the field. They went back to the booth. That was what the call was confirmed as, and they moved on. Quite frankly, I think that Texas got their butt whipped. End of story. And when you have a team come into your house and they dominate you the way that Georgia did, I mean, a couple of calls here and there, I don't think are going to really make that too much of a difference. But could it have helped change some momentum? Maybe. I just don't think at the end of the day it was going to make that much of a difference.
Let me see if I can get this for you. There was a hit on 0-0 now.
Yep.
There was a hit on Quinn Ewers that I'm watching the game, and I tell everybody this, 30 to 45 minutes behind, because I don't like to watch none of this stoppage of play. I fast forward through the commercials. I record like 4 or 5 games at once. But I started to send my friend Carlos a text saying, I want to change my pick here. I'm not sure if Gwen Ewers can come back for this. I think that.
And he smacked. Ewers is pounded. The ball comes out, still rolling around, still up for grabs.
Cobwebs. Did you think? I don't know, man, because you've seen Quinn Ewers over the years.
Yeah.
I've seen him have some stinkers there. TCU a few years ago, Oklahoma State. Yeah, that TCU game, I didn't think he was going to ever recover from that crappy game he had a few years ago.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts when that happened in real time? You're like, maybe this is going to be a long day for Quinn Ewers.
I love Texas and OU in the SEC. One, just because of the fact of the tradition and camaraderie that both of those teams bring to the table every second Saturday in October each year.
Yeah.
At the Cotton Bowl. But coming out of that game over the last 10 years, Texas and Oklahoma combined were 17-3. They were playing teams like West Virginia, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Well, go back on Oklahoma State versus Texas. Texas usually played either like K-State somewhere or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Whenever you have those types of opponents coming in that next week, it's easy. You can take a breather a little bit. Quinn Ewers found out he has now been anointed into the SEC.
That was the first thought of when that game ended. I said, okay, this is your real welcome to SEC moment here.
Yeah.
It's you're going to get a knot on your head. and then you got to ice over. You mentioned Kareem Hunt icing down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude. Do you think maybe they should have kept Arch Manning in there? He's a better running threat, you know.
What I was really surprised that Sark didn't do was make Kirby Smart plan for both quarterbacks.
Yeah, that would really been.
That would have been a lot harder. That would have taken away some of the game prep that they had just strictly for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
Whenever you have, I mean, this is something that we had even talked about for Arkansas LSU is Taylon Green, if he was healthy, but not healthy enough to be like a full go in the playbook, have a few plays for Malachi Singleton and give LSU and Brian Kelly a different look to say, hey, you're going to have to prepare for both quarterbacks. You just don't know when and what's going to happen. That didn't happen. I thought that Texas might go that route just for the sake of keeping Georgia more honest on the defense, but they didn't. They loaded up, they pinned their ears back, and you saw what happened.
Man, yeah. And I understand not wanting to put Arch Manning in it. Why do you think he put Arch Manning in the first place? In do you think that he probably felt that Quinn Ewers is super rattled after that hit?
Yeah, when you have a guy that's getting smashed around back there like that, and he's and the mobility factor is starting to decrease, that makes you basically a bird on a wire at that point, and you're just playing target practice.
Yeah.
And that honestly was what was starting to have happen. So Sark knew that he needed to have a different look for Georgia to make them more honest in the line of scrimmage and making somebody account for Arch himself. So that's taking somebody away from that second and third level. Yeah. So that way that they could maybe get some open spots in whenever when they're playing zone defense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And when you were back on stage and I was talking about that game, Georgia has a lot of guys that didn't start last year. They're now in the NFL playing defense. It just got their time to shine. Yeah. Certain players just elevate their game. And you never know when that light bulb's going to go off for that 4-star guy or 5-star guy who's the game just slows down for you, and they had all those celebrities in there for Texas, Conahey, and you got to get a sense Texas was feeling himself a little bit. And you've heard this stat too, 49 games that they've been favored Georgia in there, and then they were kind of getting disrespected. Everybody on game day picked Texas, by the way.
Yep. And I really feel like that's more of a respect for Texas at this point because they were number one. They were the home team. But listen, the next time that Texas and Georgia match up again together, Texas will not be favored.
That's true. That's true. And the preseason, I picked Georgia, but then I'm like you. I'm looking at the metrics, offense, defense, yards per play, everything favored Texas.
Yeah.
And Georgia's not – they look great in Clemson, but, maybe Alabama just had a perfect game plan that night,
They did. Honestly, they really did. And you come to look at it, and now, getting beat by Vanderbilt, damn near getting beat by South Carolina, and then getting beat last weekend, it's like, okay, well, maybe Alabama is more mortal than we thought they were.
Who's the number one team, man, in your opinion right now? Is there really a true number one, or it's just a wide open college football this year?
I think it's wide open. I think that
brother.
If there is no delineation between 1, 2, and 3 right now, there's not. Yeah. There really isn't. And by the way, do you think Oklahoma's missing Dylan Gabriel about right now?
Woo! Yeah. That dude's a big game player. I think about the Texas game last year. And the throws he made in Oregon. And I really thought that maybe they'll get shook up against Purdue 35-0 on the road Friday game.
Smoked them last Friday night, yeah. That was pretty impressive because if you think about it and you go back and look, they survived Purdue the year before or 2 years before. And I think it was 54-49, something like that, or 49-45. It was a high-scoring game, or 49-52, somewhere right around there, but it was a high-scoring, close game. And whenever you've got a quarterback like Gabriel that can keep you ahead of the sticks, that honestly translated into your defense playing a lot better than what you anticipated, and you saw that against Ohio State.
Yeah, that was probably the best game of the year so far. Now, my opinion, now you could, if Ohio State played them at a neutral site, do you think that outcome may be different?
I don't know. That is a really good question.
Yeah.
I would actually say that game might be more closer to going to overtime.
Yeah, me too, man.
Because those are two really evenly matched schools. Because you thought that whenever Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA moved to the Big Ten, you thought that they're probably going to go in there and get roundhoused in the jaw with all of the power running that they've got. And that hasn't happened yet.
No.
Well, at least for Oregon.
Yeah, USC, I can't believe they're losing some of the games. After they beat LSU, I don't know what to think. By the way, what happened in that Arkansas game? Dude, I thought that LSU would be flat after playing Ole Miss.
So Brian Kelly had a great game plan going in to make Arkansas one-dimensional. Okay. And that's what they did. They took away the run game because that's what Bobby Petrino's offense is predicated on, is the run setting up the pass. They took away the run. Mm-hmm. And so now you made Taylor Green stay in the pocket, have to step up in the pocket where he's only throwing right around 50%.
Yeah.
And they didn't let him outside of the tackles. Now, when he gets outside of the tackles, he was throwing over 60% completions.
Okay.
And they kept him contained, and they made him make throws downfield. Now, he made some, but again, it wasn't enough to be able to stay up with LSU, because at the end of the day, LSU's talent, I feel like, kind of took over in the front seven. There was a guy that I would talk to that I trust quite a lot, and I told him, I was like, look, here's what's going to happen. This game is going to be determined by LSU's offensive front, their offensive line, and the kicking game. Those are the two distinct things that have to happen. Arkansas needed to get pressure on Nussmeier and make him go a little off of his usual and make him just a little off kilter.
Yes.
Never happened.
No.
Never happened.
So it is what it – did you say, is Bobby Petrino the offensive coordinator at Arkansas?
Yes. Arkansas rushed.
Well, they're pretty forgiving, ain't they?
Yeah. So
yes,
true.
Pickles, you heard that right. That's one of my listeners there.
Arkansas ran 19 times for 38 yards.
Wow.
On Saturday.
Boy, they're coming into their own run defense for LSU. God.
Yeah, because, listen, LSU made a distinct – this is something that I felt that was interesting too, is that Arkansas was second in the conference in time of possession for over 33 minutes a game.
Man.
LSU came in and held the ball for 39 minutes of the game.
Boy, that's the best they played all year.
It was.
Honestly, Arkansas just beat Tennessee. Tennessee beat Alabama, so look how good Tennessee's defense has turned out to be, Yeah.
Arkansas only had 253 yards of offense total.
Man.
Yeah, it was a tough day, and that's whenever you make Arkansas one-dimensional, I'm sure that, there's going to be teams that are going to look at that. Texas is going to look at that. You've got Mississippi State this weekend, and then Ole Miss after that.
See that Texas Arkansas. That's a well of a rival too. Yeah.
Yep. But I will say this, in lieu of all the mess that's happened this year for Arkansas, they're 4-3. They are 2 wins away from a bowl, which they have not been to a bowl in 3 years.
Wow.
2 years, sorry, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at that, Missouri's not playing the best that they really can. And then you got Louisiana Tech on the back half of that schedule. That's 2 wins. And even if Arkansas stinks it up over the next 3 weeks, and they got Mississippi State this weekend too.
That's not a given.
It's not a given. They played.
They should win.
Yep. They played Georgia very well 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then they played, I got to look and see who in the hell they played. I cannot, off the top of my head. Holy mackerel. Give me just about 2 seconds.
Petrino accident waiting to happen. What was your reaction when you first heard that he was coming back?
Okay. I can set the stage for you. I can set this stage for you because I was at my regular job.
Yeah.
I follow, some really trusted guys that I know that have some really good insight.
Yeah. Not
from a regional standpoint, but from a national standpoint. When I saw the text come across that Petrino was being linked to Arkansas, I was like, I'm not going to even mess with that. Then when I saw the follow text about 30 minutes later that it was being finalized, that told me a couple of things. One, The board of trustees signed off on that.
Yeah.
And 2, he'll never ride a motorcycle in the state of Arkansas again.
Boy, that is a great line to end the program on. Jason Pattenhouse, now you're with Pig Trail Nation. What do you cover exactly as far as your articles, and when are your show times, brother? Let's plug all that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm with hogville.net, as you can see over there on the background here.
Okay, yes.
That's our partner with KNWA. So we're the writing arm for KNWA's Pig Trail Nation. I have a podcast every Thursday at 7:00, which is tomorrow night, live at, as you can see, Torchy's Tacos there
That's
beside me.
time, folks. Yeah.
Central. And then also there every other week, whenever women's basketball, softball, and baseball start to happen, we'll have it every week. But from now to the end of the year, I have a show called the Arkansas Diamond Report, where we cover women's Razorback basketball, softball, and men's baseball. So we have that show, and then also every Razorback home game in Fayetteville, we go live 2 hours prior to kickoff at Torchy's Tacos as well.
Okay.
A little bit of a plug there. Appreciate that.
Of course.
They're a great sponsor of ours. And so every Thursday, you can always count on us. We'll be on the YouTube channel, Hogville.net. And I have all great content for myself and my co-host, Otis Kirk. And
you'll be covering the men's basketball at some point too?
We do not. I do not. One of our
talking, I guess.
One of our other writers, Kevin McPherson, does an incredible job. He covers Coach Calipari very closely.
Man,
and
can't wait,
dude. I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be a hell of a ride this year.
But you keep up, man. You could talk a little bit of Arkansas basketball in here, couldn't you?
A little bit here's and there's. But if, I really feel like I feel like Kevin could do a better job just because he's so in tune with it.
Maybe I'll bring him on,
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy that. Yeah, he'd love that sometime, man.
Oh, man. Can't wait. I know the NBA's already started, and that made me think about the college games. So,
yeah,
it's coming up pretty soon. Jason Pattenhouse, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man. All right, have a good night, Robert. And I'll stay in touch. I mean, with all this crazy stuff going on with the NFL, with the Chiefs, man.
Yep.
I'll definitely have you back on, brother.
Anytime. Take care. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, buddy. See ya. All right, everybody. I got to wrap this thing up here. I'm over here. I'll be back tomorrow with Kevin Carroll. We'll go a little bit more deeper into the Tennessee-Alabama game. I know I didn't get a lot to that today, but I will tomorrow. And, of course, Mad New Yorker will be back here on Friday. We'll talk about the World Series and everything. Big week, big show. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Pickles, as always. Have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on the Real Sports Scope.